We are live streaming.
Okay, thank you very much. I have to just mark that so I can see everybody. Good morning, everybody, and welcome to the Strategic Development and Property Subcommittee meeting of the 24th of March, 2022. I'm going to start with a karakia. Tuia ki runga, tuia ki raro, tuia ki roto, tuia ki waho, tuia te hira tangata, ka runga tupo, ka runga te ao, huye, tai kie. A little bit of housekeeping first. So the normal Zoom and live streaming protocols apply. I'll ask you to raise your hand for questions on your tools. And to vote, we'll use the green tick or the red cross and use the hand functions for questions. I might be a bit flexible on that if we're on a short item. We are live streaming during the breaks, so just remember that. And we'll try and have a 10-minute break every hour, so I might need a bit of help. That's the last thing I'll be thinking of. So please send me the coffee cup or do me something, some indication if you need a break. I've got to let the governance advisor doing the minutes know if you're leaving the meeting. And use the chat function for that. So we'll move on to the meeting. Thank you for the run sheet, by the way. That is so helpful for me, particularly sitting here. I don't have any apologies. So I will move on to the confirmation order of business, which is as on the agenda, but we probably will need a bit of flexibility if we can't get through some items. I'm intending to just put them to one side and move on if we can't make any traction. That's my plan today, because I don't want to get stuck anywhere. Are there any interests on this particular item on any of the agenda today from anybody? Nothing there. Okay, no public forum. So we'll move to the minutes on pages 8 to 13, and that was the 17th of February meeting. So I'll be looking to somebody to confirm that they're a true and correct record. We've got somebody that can help me there. Thank you, John Murray. Seconded, Yvonne. I'll put that. All those in favour? Aye. You'll have to do your hand. So we'll all go to the hand. Oh, it's the tick, actually. Bear with. I'll have every function open shortly. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, that passes. So that's passed, thank you very much. The next item is item 6, which is the Nelson Marina Governance Review, and we've got Nigel with us, so I'll go over to him now, thank you.
Yeah, good morning everyone, through the chair. Thank you. I present the Nelson Marina Governance paper. We went out to consultation after the meeting on the 2nd of December. During that consultation process, we did get a lot of people downloading the information, but unfortunately we only received 7 responses or submissions. From those submissions, there were 3 that were for and 2 against, and 1 that was on the fence. And in particular, there was a lot of talk, in particular, there was a lot about the tax and the tax implications, and in particular between being a management CCO and a full CCTO. So those areas were all covered in the paper, and I present it now for your questions or comments.
Right, any questions? John Murray.
Thank you, through the chair. Yeah, thanks for the report, Nigel. I just read it with interest. It's really a question of about how we respond to the applicants, because clearly some of them have put a lot of time and effort into their submission. And I'd hate to think that we'd move through this paper and reach some decisions at the end of today's meeting and then not go back to them, thank them for their submission and or address some of the points that they've raised on the way through. Where appropriate. So is that the process here, or is it all over once we go, yep, we've reached a conclusion?
Nigel.
Through the chair, so the process would be is now to approve this step, and then it will be going through to council. In terms of the comments, I think we went through and addressed all of them within the paper, and I'm comfortable that we have addressed them and that we're moving in the right direction.
Andrew, are you putting your hand up for this particular question? I'll come to you then. I'll come to John Peters.
Thanks, Madam Chair. I think that's a completely appropriate step to take. As you say, Mr. Murray, the people have put a lot of time into their submissions, and it's appropriate that we provide a response to those submissions that deal with the questions and comments that they've made. That would, as Mr. Skeggs was saying, that would be after council has made its decision.
Yep. Thank you.
Thank you. John Peters.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Question just relating to the process and the treatment of the current funds in the closed account if the CCO goes ahead.
That's a very good question, Mr. Peters. Who are we going to have? Nigel. Oh, Nikki's got a hand up. Would you like to go to Nikki?
So through the chair, just to confirm, the management CCO is effectively just a board and a structure that sits out to the side. All the funds within the closed account, all the assets, the income, the expenditure would still stay within the closed account, within the council books.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you, Nikki.
Thank you, John. Thank you, Nikki. Yvonne.
Marina, there was, and going back to what John Murray said, through the chair, Nigel, there was quite a few comments around the board makeup, and on page 20 we've got 5.13.6, as per council policy, no officers of Nelson Marina will be appointed to the board of the management CCO. So I'm just there were some very detailed, and in fact there's one that's so detailed I do hope he's considered for the board. That's probably inappropriate to say out loud, but I just thought the amount of effort that the person put into it, they've obviously got quite a passion about the marina. And there were a couple of comments through that I do hope that we do pick up on, but totally agree with what John was saying. And thank you, Andrew, that we are going to reply back when this comes through to council. But yeah, just there were a couple of comments from the Section 17A review that there was concerns of something that came through from that may actually come through onto the board. So as long as that's answered back to those people, because not everyone gets to see what we see today. So that's great that that's going to be done. Thank you. So it wasn't so much a question, but just a follow on from what John was saying.
Thanks, Yvonne. Any further questions? If that's not, we all through with questions, I'm really looking for somebody. I'm actually happy to move that one. Have I got a seconder? Yvonne, thank you. And then I'll go, Yvonne, are you done? Yeah, I'll go to Rachel, thank you.
So look, I just wanted to clarify in that case, just so we're absolutely clear, that the marina manager won't be sitting as an executive director in the board structure. So we're just overt about that in today's meeting.
Nikki can answer that.
So through the chair, no, under our current policy, staff cannot be directors on boards, and that will apply through to any CCO.
Right.
It's covered in the report as well.
Okay.
5.13.6. As per council policy, no officers of the Nelson Marina can be appointed to the board.
So what if the council policy changed? So in setting this up, you know, if we're setting the structure for CCO, and it was contemplated within the documentation, I'm just wondering what the rationale was then for having contemplated that, if it was counter to the policy. See what I mean? I'm trying to reconcile those two things. Now, what that could lead me to think is that there's a change of view at officer level that you might be coming with a policy change to suggest that's going to happen, because it's been contemplated in this instance. So, you know, I kind of almost think this needs to stand alone, given we've gone out and consulted on it, that it's not subservient to a council policy that could alter that it should be overt and confirm that the structure will not involve an executive role for the marina manager.
Nikki?
Does that make sense? Because we went out on the basis that it was contemplated.
So through the chair, Andrew might be able to add to this, that it was in the section 17A review as a suggestion. It was never accepted by staff that was the right approach. It was submitted by a consultant. Andrew, I'm not sure if you want to add to that.
Andrew.
Thanks, Madam Chair. So I think in interpreting the Mayor's comment is to avoid any potential confusion, no matter the basis for that being included in the original Section 17 review, to avoid any confusion, to have an avert statement in the resolutions to say that the marina manager will not, in this management CCO, sit on the board of this management CCO, so that effectively removes any possible confusion that could be created in the future when the people who are around this table have gone and that memory's gone.
We've got it, Andrew. It's exactly what I'm after. Thank you.
So, Andrew, are you suggesting that needs to be added this morning to the recommendation to council?
I think the Mayor has a good point.
Yes.
And my view is I don't think staff would have any objection to that. So if the subcommittee wishes to add that as a recommendation to council, then other staff may have a different view, but my view would be I don't think there's an issue with that.
So maybe I could check with you to put your hands up if you think that we should add a clause to this recommendation to council. Just physical hands, if you're not quick enough like me. So I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's a majority. So can someone craft up an additional clause, please, in the next couple of minutes, and I'll come back to this and I'll move on to the next item. The next item is the Millers Acre recladding project. So just remind me to come back to that if I don't get back to it, please. Who's presenting that one? Is that you, Alec? Is that why you're here with us today? Or is it Nikki first?
I think it's Nikki, through the chair. I think it's Nikki first. I'm here to answer any questions, but I don't see Nikki or...
Nikki Harrison's there.
Oh, there she is. Oh,
yes, she is. They move around a bit on these screens.
She's sitting right next to me. Cool.
She's definitely there. Nikki, I'll leave it with you right now. Thanks.
So through the chair, thank you. I'll take this report as being read. This is a request for additional funding to complete the recladding project in 22-23 of Millers Acre. So happy to take any questions.
Right, questions, please. Mr. Murray.
Just a question through the chair. I took the time pre-meeting to send some questions out to various officers, and I don't really want to sort of like re-ask the questions in the meeting, and would ask if officers have received those to cover them off as part of their report. That would be appreciated, because it sort of seems a bit pointless and a waste of time me going, well, I've raised a question about the contingency in the table on 4.9. Has that any of that been spent yet, year to date, to actually ask the question for it to come out, when it could actually just be talked to? So I'll ask that question because that was the question. Has any of the contingency been used? But perhaps if I could suggest as we move through the meeting, if officers respond to the questions with consents are on the email, that would save me going, here's a question.
So I'll just butt in. Mr. Murray, did you get a response to your questions? Because I was copied in and they were there, but you're absolutely welcome to ask questions in the meeting as well. And I think that the purpose for sending the questions is so that the officers are prepared to answer, so if they have to research or get anything. So you're absolutely welcome to ask any questions that you've sent through if you wish.
Yeah, okay, all right.
So we'll start with that one about the contingency then.
4.9 is the contingency. Has any of that been used yet, or is that clean?
So through the chair, that hasn't been used yet. Could I ask that Rebecca Van Orden be let into the Zoom? She's waiting. This is her report. I'm happy to answer the questions because I'm aware what they are.
No, we'd like her there. She needs to hear what's going on too, Nikki. Thank you. We'll just wait for her to be allowed in. Oh, and who's writing that extra? Who's writing that extra? Thank you, Andrew.
Nikki, Rebecca's in.
Oh, thank you.
I'll just welcome her when she arrives. Hello, Rebecca. Welcome to the meeting.
Good morning, everyone.
So the question, there has been a question being asked. I'm sorry, I'll go to Mr. Murray to ask it so that you can hear the question and then you can respond.
Thank you. Question was around on the table on 4.9, which has a contingency sitting in there for 230,000. Just wondered if any of that's been used yet, or if it's still available within the total budget, should there be overruns?
Through the chair, there is an existing contingency for the approved budget of 10%. That has not yet been spent, but I understand that it will be spent. There's an additional contingency for the additional budget being requested of 30%. That may or may not be spent depending on how the project progresses.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Right, so we've got a recommendation here that we receive the report, and the recommendation to council approves the allocation of additional unbudgeted amount, 625, in the 22-23 year to complete the remedial cladding system for Millers Acre and installation of a comprehensive height safety harness point system. So that's probably good for the future. I'll come to you in a moment, Rachel. And then notes that investigation into improvements to the northern end of the ground floor of Millers Acre, currently leased to the Department of Conservation to provide additional window opening and external customer access, is underway and will be presented to a future subcommittee as a matter of urgent business. I will have a question on that additional, if there's any additional funding, but I'll go to Rachel first.
Thanks, Gail. I just want the officers just to contemplate this in a strategic context. So we have an existing building. You're seeking significant additional funds now to address building failures. And I just want to be satisfied that you think the asset warrants the investment at this point in time when you're looking at the full strategic picture of development within the city centre. So I want to be satisfied that there is that you have thought that through in terms of the land, that the opportunities for that land, any future opportunities, and whether you see that as a reasonable investment from a strategic perspective. And that will go to revenue stream as well of this particular building.
Who would like to answer that question? Is that a Pat question or is that a Nikki question? Nikki, thank you. I'll come to you, Alec, if you would like after Nikki's done.
I'm happy to start.
Okay.
So from the perspective that it's a commercial building that we are commanding strong commercial rentals on, it's a relatively new building and has an insurance value of close to $7 million just for the building, not for the underlying land. I believe that remediation and the investment in the recladding project is worth the investment.
Thank you.
So in reaching that conclusion, you also look at the fact that it is a commercial building and it needs to pay its way, essentially.
Through the chair, yes. And I mean, the commercial rents that we're receiving on those buildings, you've got to have it at a standard that it's not leaking and it's not growing mold, etc. So I think the investment needs to be made.
Thank you. That makes sense.
Okay. Alec, did you want to add anything? No? Pat, you're okay with you didn't want to add anything? Great. Okay. So we've got that recommendation in front of us. Does somebody want to make a move on that one? to receive and to approve the allocation of unbudgeted, which will go to council for consideration.
I'll receive the report only. I'll
Okay.
move it.
Okay, well, we'll do it in two parts then. So we've got a mover for the receiving of the report. For expediency, I'll second that. I'll put that. All those in favour, please use your hand. Or yeah, use your hand. 1, 2, 3. Yes, we've got a majority. Thank you. I'll pass that one. And the second one is a recommendation to council. So of course that is an opportunity for that to all change there. So someone prepared to move that recommendation to improve that building and to get that cladding underway. I will need a mover or a seconder. I will move it. Mr. Murray, thank you. Thank you. So I'm moving it. Mr. Murray's seconding it. Is there any debate? Maybe we'll hear something there. No debate, then I'm going to put that motion. All those in favour, please put the tick on your reactions. Thank you. Okay, has everybody noted that? There are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 for, and there are 2 against. So that is passed. Thank you. I'm now, Mr. White, are you ready for me to go back to the previous item?
Yes, thanks, Madam Chair. I think that's fine. I think Kelsey has finalised the recommendation, but I'll read it out.
You might have to, it's too small on my screen. What does it say? Ah, excellent.
And read at the bottom.
Okay, so it reads,
confirms that the manager of Nelson Marina will not be appointed to the Marina Management Council Controlled Organisation Governance Board.
I'm going to go to Rachel and ask if you think that is what you were looking for. It is, okay. So I'm now going to go to Yvonne because you seconded it, I moved it, and are you okay with adding that clause?
Absolutely, it was what I was getting to, so I'm happy.
I'm just formally doing the thing.
Absolutely, no, I'm pleased that Rachel picked up on what I was saying. I thought that I had to go a bit further up to.
It formalises it.
Yes,
thank you.
Great.
Okay,
thank you.
So we've now got that full recommendation to council where we're approving the formation of the management CCO. We approve the development of the statement of expectation, statement of intent, a management agreement, recommended board structure for Nelson Marina by the Strategic Development of Property Subcommittee for consideration by council, and that new clause, which I haven't written down here and I can't see it now in front of me, but it was very straightforward. So it's been moved, it's been seconded. Does anybody want to debate that? Mr. Murray, you've got a tick, but I don't know whether that's for debate or, okay, I'll go to the Mayor, thank you.
Thank you, Gail. Look, I just want to acknowledge the work that's gone into this proposal. There's been some really good consideration about how we're going to move to a more effective model for the marina, and I acknowledge that, you know, it might not be the end point. In some future years it may become a, you know, there's some contemplation that, you know, maybe it might move through to a full CCO, but I support the approach that has been recommended to us. And I'd also want to acknowledge, as Mr. Murray did, the quality of the submissions that have come in for this process, and I really do encourage ongoing dialogue with the submitters. I think you've got a highly engaged group of people who have quite a lot to offer in terms of being a supportive community for the marina. And it doesn't hurt to have a bit of critique, actually, because it makes you really think about the decisions that you're making and really test test your own advice to confirm that actually that is what you'd still bring back to recommend to the committee. So just want to thank you for a very good piece of work.
Thank you, and I'll just do the right of reply. Just to say that I was expecting a few more submissions, but the ones that we got covered a variety and vast amount of information and concerns, which were responded to by our staff. And this is just another step in making the marina more user-friendly, more productive, and just a really good place to go. So it's another step, I think, in the right direction, and I'm really pleased that we're making this progress. So yep, that's all I have to say. So I will now put the motion, if you would use your hands, please, on the reactions button, the tick, actually. Thank you. Tim, did you? Yep, awesome. Thank you. That's through. Thank you very much. So we'll move on now to item. Well, we're now into confidential. So before we go into confidential, we need to actually make the resolution to confirm that we have 2 externals joining us. So we need to do the recommendations for that. So we're confirming under sections 48.5 and 48.6 of the Local Government Official Information and Meetings Act that Phil Stevenson from Grant Hunt Building Consultants Limited remain after the public has been excluded from item 2 of the confidential agenda Miller's Acre Cladding Inspection Report, as he has knowledge that will assist the meeting, and confirms in accordance with the same sections of the Act that Jennifer Rose from Becker remain after the public has been excluded for item 4 of the confidential agenda resource consent for Brook Valley Holiday Park long-term residential accommodation, as she has knowledge that will assist the meeting. So just before I put that, that we exclude the public for those matters, is there anything from the GAs that I need to do in the open section prior to that?
Through the chair, no. Just before we go into confidential, just checking that everybody's in a place they're not going to be overheard or seen.
Do I do that now or when we go in?
Just before we go in.
Okay, so if everybody indicate with your green tick that you are in a place that nobody can hear you or hear what you're saying or heard what's being said. Oh, mine didn't work. That's good, isn't it? Okay, that's staff too, sorry. Mr. White, I need your tick. Mr. Skeggs, do you still need to be here? Yes, you do. Okay, so I need your tick too. I think we've got a full house. Okay, so I need to move into public excluded, please. Thank you, Councillor Bowater. Have a seconder. Thank you, Madam Mayor. I'll put that, all those in favour. Put your hand up because we've got ticks everywhere. Okay, that's passed. Thank you very much. We'll move into public excluded. We'll give the staff a few moments to get that prepared.
Through the chair, so we moved and seconded to have the externals in confidential. Now we need to move and second the resolution to go into confidential.
Oh, thank you. Thank you, Councillor Bowater. Would the Mayor like to second that one too? Thank you, yes. I'll put that, all those in favour, please put your hand up. Thank you very much, that's passed. Is it too early for a break? You want to start and then maybe do one item and see how we're going for time? Keep going. Okay, thank you.